This is a production of WKNO Memphis. Production funding for Sports Files is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
My guest today on Sports Files is the all-time assists leader at the University of Memphis, the man known as the Little General, Andre Turner. Today on the show, Andre Turner will join me to talk plenty of round ball. Dre is now sharing his expertise of the game with viewers of Fox 13 television, adding analysis on both the Tigers and Grizzlies. But before Andre joins me, there's a few things I want to talk about. First, congrats to the Memphis Tigers football team for winning on the road at South Florida this past Saturday for their second straight victory and third of the season. The Tigers will face number 21 Louisville this weekend. Also last weekend, Ole Miss set a school record, racking up 751 yards of offense in a rout of Troy. This Saturday, the stakes are much higher as number 24 Ole Miss hosts number 8 Missouri. And closer to home, Rhodes College won a share of the SAA Pigskin title by routing Millsaps 49-30. The Lynx and Majors both finished 8-2 and 5-1 in league play. Later in the show, we'll hear from Lynx coach Dan Gritty and one of his standout seniors, Dane Wilson. Okay, let's get to some round ball talk with Andre Turner. The Grizzlies have suddenly turned the corner while the 11th ranked Tigers look for answers after getting walloped Tuesday night by number 7 Oklahoma State. Today we get the inside scoop, the analysis that only a former player can provide, as we are joined by the Memphis Tigers' 12th all-time leading scorer and one of the greatest players to ever don the blue and gray, Andre Turner, the Little General, next on Sports Files. Hey, Andre, thanks for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jay.
Great to see you. Okay, now you're on my side. You're on the media side of things at Fox 13. How are you enjoying yourself?
Oh, man, I'm not complaining at all, man. I'm enjoying myself. I really am.
What were you like when you dealt with the media throughout your career?
I tried to be as charismatic as I could. I tried to answer the questions. I tried not to be the mean guy because, hey, when they were asking questions when things were going good, I was ready to answer them. So you had to answer them when they wasn't going so good as well.
So you were honest with them?
Oh, I had to be, man.
And that's what you have to be now as an analyst.
That's right.
We expect honesty. So we got a lot to get into, and right off the bat, your alma mater and a horrible sight Tuesday night in Stillwater. I don't know if a lot of people expected Memphis, the 11th ranked team, to go in and beat the number 7 Oklahoma State Cowboys, but most did not expect an absolute blowout, a bloodbath. Andre, what happened?
Good question, Greg, and I'm still trying to find the answer. Of course, we didn't expect a blowout, and we definitely expected our guys to compete, but the Tigers did not come ready to play. It seems as though everything was just out of order. Not so much as lethargic, but it was a bunch of individual play, and it's like, where's our leader? Who was leading this team?
Yeah, it must be hard when you played. You were the floor general, and thus the nickname the Little General. So you dictated everything that was going on with Keith and everybody out there. Joe is not a vocal guy. Dixon comes in, and I don't know if you expect him in his senior year and his 1 year with Memphis to be that guy. Right. There is no rhyme or reason because there really isn't that floor general.
And that's true. I mean, you have to have a leader. And I don't know if the guys are looking to Josh, the staff to be the leader at times or whatnot, but some guys lead by example. I felt like in practice I had to, be, the guy that worked harder than everybody in practice. So when I spoke, then guys would actually listen, but I also felt like I had to be vocal on the court and with the ball in my hand and understanding the plays and making sure everybody was where they're supposed to be. You have to be vocal on the court, as a leader, and we haven't found that guy yet.
4 senior guards, that's all we've heard going into the season. Memphis has possibly the best backcourt in the country. 3 that have been around, 2 that have been around for a while. One who's been here for 2 years in Jaron, and a new guy, Michael Dixon Jr.
Exactly.
All 4 want to get to that next level. And I think all players do, but those 4 really. Is that an issue that these guys are out there and maybe the chemistry is not as good because they're looking to do something on an individual basis?
Well, I don't think so, Greg. I really don't. I think that sometimes you have guys who don't want to step on other guys' toes. And when you're a leader, it happens. When things are not going right and when guys are not doing what they're supposed to do, then you have to step on toes and you have to call it is, what it is, and
exactly.
and not be afraid to do so, and other repercussions, because sometimes you're worried about if guys are going to get mad at you, if the friendship or the relationship is not going to be what it used to be. But if you're genuinely headed towards one goal, then it won't happen.
You've been to Tigers practices. You've seen Josh.
Right.
What he tries to instill in his team sometimes is not translated to on the court action. There are people questioning throughout talk radio whether the guy can coach. We know he can coach. We know he knows X's and O's.
Right.
Why did it not translate the other night, and why in big games has it more often than not translated?
Man, it's a good question, and then of course that question will be asked again and again, and
right.
People are going to say, well, when are we going to win that big game? When are we going to win a game against a top-ranked team or a team within the top 25? And it's important, and it's almost like a hurdle that Josh needs to get past in the eyes of a lot of people. And sadly to say this, you're in a basketball town, and these people live and breathe basketball, and so we're looking and trying to find out, what it is that's not being translated, or what it is that the guys are not getting, to be on that same page, to get some cohesiveness, some unity, out of our players.
What was it like for you and your teammates when you dealt with Dana? Oh
man, it was. Dana was a different type of coach, but man, a great coach. He got on us when he needed to, but he kind of gave us the reins to kind of let the guys that wanted to lead. And so there were a lot of times in practice where I was extremely vocal, and when it was probably the coach should have been saying something, I was the one talking and saying what we need to do, and what guys had to do in order for us to be successful.
We saw Marcus Smart go off for 39 points. Terrific player.
Right.
But why was he able to do that? It's just that much talent that he brings to the table so he could do what he wants and dictate what he wants to do? Or did Memphis do something that you saw that was deficient in the way they defended him?
Well, you probably add a little bit of both. Marcus Smart is an excellent basketball player, man. Physically, he's ready. He's ready for the next level. And for him to say he wanted to stay another year to hone his game more, to be a better shooter, to be a better all-around player for his teammates, he's showing it, and he did that last night. But at the same time, with us, you look for adjustments, and we pretty much played, to me, the same defense, the entire game. And you say, all right, let's jump into zone, or let's try something different to try to correspond to what they're doing, and slow him down and slow them down, because it wasn't just him. He had a terrific game, but you had other guys on their team that had 22 points and maybe 8 rebounds and 3 blocks, and the entire team played pretty good.
But Josh is pretty reluctant not to change, and there wasn't a lot of switches. He doesn't play zone; he plays man. They stayed pretty much to the same man-to-man defense and got beat. Now let me ask you this: can a loss like this, I would imagine, go either way? Can this bring this team together better, where these guys realize, we can't just walk out there with all these great seniors and win basketball games, or can it implode in their faces?
Well, you hope for the first. You hope that these guys say, hey, this is not us. And I definitely feel that that's not them. I think the team has a great deal of talent, but doesn't mean anything if the talent doesn't play together. But I think that the guys will go back to the the drawing board, work extremely hard in practice, and then they'll look and say, all right, hey, we there's a lot of things that we have to change, but somebody, bottom line, has to lead.
Right.
Somebody has to lead, and to get us back on track. And again, this is extremely early, and sometimes we get to the point where, man, here we are again. We haven't beat anybody in the top 25, and what's going to happen with this team? We're not going to win, and there's no panic.
Well, what do you think this team, and whether they're overranked or what have you, that's beside the point. We're early in the season, but talent. Chemistry. You're looking at this team. I know they're a little thin up front. They got a lot of youngsters, but they have veteran backcourt.
Right.
What's legitimate, Andre? In March, where should the Tigers be?
No doubt in my mind, we should definitely be in the tournament. Where in the tournament, I don't know, but we definitely should be in the tournament, man. If we're ranked now, but we have the talent to be, definitely in the tournament, and it's left up to the guys, Greg.
But they got to win some games in the tournament, don't they, Andre?
Oh man, yeah, not just
getting
in it.
there is not good enough anymore.
Definitely not now, because you've been there before, and now it's like, okay, now let's. We're talking about Sweet 16, going past the first round.
Right.
So it's important. It's important.
Okay. Well, your alma mater struggles, at least in that game against Oklahoma State. The Grizzlies, who you also follow very closely for Fox 13, has finally gotten it together. It's interesting. Dave Yeager takes over for Lionel Hollins. They struggle right out of the gate. Everybody blames Yeager. Now they're hot. They're playing very well on this road trip. And has he changed his coaching philosophy? No. The players seem to be playing the way they should. Hard-nosed, grit and grind basketball.
Hey, the life of a professional. And when things are going bad, you're the skipper. You're the head man. You get the blame.
Right.
Things are going good. Well, now they're responding to Yeager. He looks, like he's knows what he's doing, and it's a life. And in professional basketball, and there are a lot of ups and downs. But the team that finds their consistency in their players night in and night out, and without a doubt, we have pretty much the guys that we had last year. So we know that these guys can win, and it's a matter of getting on that same page. And as Tony Allen and Mike Conley alluded to in the interviews, that maybe just getting away from home for a minute, would do us some good. And it seems as though it's happening that way.
In all your career, have you ever kicked somebody in the face like Tony Allen did?
Can't say that I did. Can't say that.
Not on purpose, though.
Yeah, can't say that I was as athletic as Tony Allen is, man.
That was incredible, wasn't it? Let's talk about Zach Randolph. Z-Bo is a guy going into the season that people thought, look, if the team struggles down the road with the large contract with one more year remaining, maybe that's something the Grizzlies management does something with. This team is, for this team to be a playoff team and to be a contender for the Western Conference Championship, which they have been, that guy is so important. We've seen him take over the way he has done on this road trip.
Bread and butter, Greg. And along with Marc Gasol, Marc adds that dimension that helps out Zach a great deal, without a doubt, because Marc, without a doubt, is the best passing big man in this league. And now he's definitely figuring out more and more how to be more effective scoring the basketball for our team. But Z-Bo is who he is, man. Yeah, he's not going to jump much more than this, high off the ground.
Right.
But man, he understands basketball.
It's old school basketball, right?
And we got to get the ball to him. We got to figure out a way. Sometimes it kind of gets to me when we look like we're trying to get it into him, but we can't, and then we swing to the other side, and then you can see Zach get a little frustrated. But the ball has to be in Zach's hands a good amount of time.
You played 16 years of professional ball in Spain. Of course, you played in the NBA. You played all over the world. But what's basketball like in Spain? Because you can give us a different dimension on things, knowing that that's where Marc and obviously his brother Pau are from.
Right. Well, of course, when you last that long, you see all kinds of changes. So when I first got there, I'm looking at the lane, how it's it's coming outwards, and so they changed as time changed to more so to the U.S. rules. But basketball there wasn't as popular in the first couple of years of my time being there. But as the time passed, it grew, and of course, soccer is the main thing, and it still is. But it grew, and basketball there is really huge now, especially all over Europe. It's really big. There's so many leagues, so many different teams, and so many different players, and there are a lot of very, very good European players still, playing out here, man.
All right, rapid fire. All right. Greatest moment as a Tiger.
Final Four, man. Final Four, making a shot or two at the buzzer to take us on to the Final Four.
I think I know the answer. Greatest player you ever played with?
Keith Lee.
Greatest player you ever played against?
College.
Yeah, I'm talking college first.
Who would it be against? Oh, man, that's tough. Mitchell Wiggins was tough, man, at Florida State.
His son's not too shabby either.
Not too bad, man. I got a chance to play against Wayman Tisdale, but Akeem Olajuwon, too.
There you go.
Houston.
NBA, and I know you played for a number of teams. You ended up with Boston. Best player you ever played with and best player you ever played against?
Oh, man, let's think. I played in Houston where Akeem Olajuwon was there. I played in Philly. Charles Barkley was there. I was cut by the Lakers, of course, Magic Johnson, and I was also in Boston for a month and a half with Larry Bird.
Oh, my gosh.
How
do you pick out of that?
How do you pick, man? Hey, I've been
How
blessed.
about somebody you went up against? in your time in the NBA?
You know who was really tough when I played against? I got a chance really to go against Gary Payton and Tim Hardaway, man. Okay. Trying to guard Tim Hardaway, man.
No thanks.
Man.
We like to end all our interviews with something we call 5 for the road. So I'm going to give you a question, quick answer, first thing that comes to mind. Favorite professional sports team, any sport? Don't say the Grizzlies. Don't go homer on me.
Don't go home on me.
No.
Favorite professional sports team? I can't go home. Cowboys.
Cowboys. Okay. How about them Cowboys? Not that good. Favorite pro athlete of all time? When you were growing up, who was it?
Isaiah Thomas.
Okay. Favorite music or musician or band or group?
Well,
what do you like?
I'm an R&B kind of guy, and Frankie Beverly and Maze, man. I love my music, man.
Who said Frankie Beverly and Maze? Chris Wallace last week, I think.
Did he?
Chris Wallace, the general manager of the Grizzlies, also with Frankie Beverly and Maze. Absolutely. Favorite movie of all time?
That's tough. I'm a movie buff, man. I like going to the movies.
I do too.
Oh, man.
Putting you on the hot spot.
Yeah, I'm on the hot spot. You know what was really good? I enjoyed Imitation of Life.
Who's in that?
Way back in the day, Mahalia Jackson was sung this song, but Imitation of Life was really good.
Finally, favorite TV show of all time?
Of all time, favorite TV show, man.
Don't give me Sports Center or something like that.
I can't give you Sports Center.
No.
Positive? Man, Sports Center I don't think would laying in there, man. But of all time, I'm probably a Fred Sanford, Sanford and Son.
Sanford and Son's a great one. I used to watch that with my late father. It was Chico and the Man, Sanford and Son, back to back. It was good stuff.
Yes, indeed.
Dre, thank you so much.
Hey, my pleasure.
Good work over at Fox 13. We look forward to watching you as both the Grizzlies and the Tigers play on and get your analysis.
Hey, I appreciate it being, and I'm enjoying being in the fraternity, man.
Thank you so much. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, it's our overtime segment. As I mentioned earlier in the show, the Rhodes College Lynx recently completed one of their greatest football seasons in the last quarter century, finishing 8-2 and earning a share of the Southern Athletic Association Conference title with a resounding win over Millsaps in the season finale. Head coach Dan Gritty, who joined us here on Sports Files early in the season, told us then how confident he was in his squad and felt good about a strong season. But who would have thought that the Lynx would finish the season 4 points away from a perfect regular campaign? Unfortunately for the Lynx, they did not receive an at-large bid to play in the NCAA Division III playoffs, and the SAA does not get an automatic berth. Nevertheless, 2013 was a banner year for the Lynx. Earlier this week, I was scheduled to interview both Coach Gritty and senior captain Dane Wilson, a graduate of First Assembly Christian School in Bartlett. I came down ill, so I asked Coach to play interviewer, and here's how it went.
I'm here with Dane Wilson, senior running back and team captain of the 2013 SAA champion Rhodes Lynx football team. Dane, you've had an interesting college career. You played and had a lot of local acclaim as a high school at FACS as a high school running back. Then you came to Rhodes. Your first season didn't go probably as planned, and then there was a coaching change with my staff coming in. Talk a little bit about what it was like to come to college, not necessarily be as successful as you wanted early on, and then have to deal with the coaching change right off the bat.
We were pretty successful in high school, and coming off that, coming here, I didn't want to come here at first. I wanted to go away from Memphis, and the previous coaches, Coach White, came and talked to me about how this is Memphis, but it's not. It's away from Memphis, so I could have the best of both worlds. And so he kind of pushed me in the right way. My head coach played here as well, so he kind of sat on the sidelines, cheered me here, and so I ended up here. And after freshman year, it was a huge shock. Just wasn't used to losing and wasn't used to people not caring about losing. We went 4-6, and it wasn't a big deal. Like no one, it didn't raise any red flags, nothing. No one said anything when we lost. We won one big game, we beat WashU, and everybody was like happy and like, oh, we're gonna have a good year this year, and then it turned out bad. So that was a huge culture
So how
shock.
did the coaching change play into things, and what were those first few months under a staff of people that didn't recruit you?
Well, the first few months I was, I guess as a whole, we were kind of angry and upset because we had come here for the coaches. Me specifically, I know I didn't have any reason to come here before Coach White came and talked to me. So like what I had invested in was leaving now, because I wasn't invested in Rhodes football yet, but I had invested in the coaches. So, and they were now leaving. So I was very skeptical. I was very worried about what the future would hold, because while I didn't like what it was freshman year, I knew how things were, and I'd almost come to grips with it. The fact that like this is how this is going to be. But and then after the coaching change, right when we came in sophomore year, it was a whole different dynamic. People actually cared if they lost. I think we brought in some good recruits that year that are still going to be huge leaders next year. So sophomore year was a bit of a change.
So you go from being 3-6 as a sophomore to 6-3 as a junior. What do you attribute that change in performance and the newfound success that the program had as a junior?
I think the short amount of time as we had to get everything going sophomore year is what was one of our problems. It wasn't necessarily the team or the coaches. It was like our offense was slow, even though we're supposed to be the fast-paced offense, because nobody really knew it yet. That kind of thing. We were kind of working out the hitches, and then junior year we got rolling right in through spring, able to get everybody together, running the new offense, the new defense, and the new schemes and the new mentality. It was a totally different mentality, and that's not something you change overnight. So I think it took a year to get that going.
And you had a pretty successful year. You were one of the top rushers in the SAA as a junior. Personally, was it more in line with what your internal goals were or personal goals were? Or?
I would say junior year I was okay with junior year when it happened. Like we won 6-3. I had a pretty good year. I was okay with that. And we keep hearing, we're going to be a championship team. But I mean, I was okay with where I was. And I don't know. I see that as a problem now. But we ended up being a championship team, so I guess that's not that big a deal. But
so you come into your senior year. You've had first winning season in 10 years for the school. What were your expectations? What were your objectives?
I believed we could win a championship. I wanted to win a championship, but in the back of my head, I always knew I had seen what Rhodes football did in big games. And so all the time, not that I was doubting, like I wanted to win, but there's always that like what would happen in a big game. And really after we watched WashU, the way the team turned around, the whole mentality, just everyone's face after the game, like that wasn't a conference game. That didn't matter for us to win a championship, but it killed every single person on the team. And that was when I really noticed that this year was going to be different, and it turned out to be.
So after the double overtime to WashU, the program rattles off some wins, goes to Birmingham Southern, has the failed 2-point conversion to lose that game late. Still in the hunt for a championship. You get to the final game. It's winner take all against Millsaps. Talk about your emotions when you walked onto the field before kickoff.
It's almost to the point of being indescribable. That's the biggest game I've ever played in, and then to win it, I never thought I would be playing for a conference championship, to be honest. And it just, coming out on the field, there were so many fans. I know so many people from Memphis came to see me play. That helped me personally. The way that the students reacted when they came out on the field almost at the end, we rushed the field at the end. It was like being, part of a D1 program, that kind of thing. So that's something that I haven't got here in 4 years, and didn't really think after freshman year it was something I would ever have.
And you went through that experience with ultimately 10 other people, 11 seniors graduating off this team. What did the bond you forged with them, what did it mean to you to all go out on top together?
I mean, that's the greatest feeling ever. We sat around later that night and just talked about it like, we're going to be that team that comes back in 25 years. Like, we won a championship. That's like, I mean, that's something you don't get a lot of chances at. And freshman year, we didn't think we were going to have a chance of that ever. And we were okay with that. And now we have so much more. And I mean, those are my 10 closest friends in the world. And I mean, I'll have them even after football's gone. So,
last question for you. You go to a great school like Rhodes that opens so many doors for you. What are you thinking about in the future? What are your future plans?
I'm a poli-sci pre-law major, and plan on going to law school. Not really sure where yet. I'll probably end up at University of Memphis Law, and I want to be a sports agent.
And obviously you think your football experience here at Rhodes probably will prepare you pretty well for that.
Yep, can't hurt.
Well, thanks for talking to us today, Dane, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Way to go, Coach. I hope I get to keep my job. Now, before we say goodnight, some sad news last week on the local sports front with the sudden passing of legendary bowler Billy Hardwick at the age of 72. Most youngsters know Billy as the proprietor of Billy Hardwick's All-Star Lanes in Memphis. But for us older folks, or those well-versed in the sport of bowling, Hardwick is a Hall of Famer and the first to win the Triple Crown of bowling. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and his friends. And that'll do it for this week's show. Remember, to see any of our previous shows, all you have to do is log on to our website at WKNO.org and click on KNO Tonight. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you Thanksgiving evening.